Good morning, LinkedIn. Welcome to Let's Build Daily. I'm your host, Chris Carolin. Um, Getting back to HubSpot specific land today. Uh, a hot topic for me, at least, and I know some others, uh, whether they've discovered it or not yet, even orders in HubSpot. Um, been having a lot of conversations about this specific object, what it could be, what it should be, what it shouldn't be. Since we started talking about, the delivered portal and helping inside sales, order management teams, operations teams start to come into HubSpot in ways that, doesn't force them to use deals or doesn't force them to use tickets for this very different kind of operational focused activity that needs to be proactive, needs to rely on proactive process to move customers forward after they do business with you, after they give you money. Um, and traditionally, that is a place where uh, businesses have failed. Uh, it's not because they don't want to do better, but I don't think the tools have been there to allow for them to do better. Either, you know, you have a tool like HubSpot where even though they tell you that the customer base is a lot easier to generate revenue from, we just now got a customer success workspace. We've only had deals and tickets up to 2020. Then we got custom objects, but there's still a lot left to be desired on how people use custom objects, when to use them, the understanding there of how powerful they can be to support processes like this. Most revenue reporting until very recently has been attached to deals only. So if I'm getting revenue outside of deals, let's say it's coming directly into Shopify or it's coming into the ERP, and I want to see historical data, I'm forced to make closed won deals that aren't managed. There's no sales management happening. It's just a place for reporting purposes. I need to attach revenue there. And that, is an element that at the very least adds complexity to sales reporting that you have to manage and make sure you're filtering out. But now that we have subscriptions, invoices, payments, we're creating these different avenues, including orders. Like right now, I have a client with an active Shopify integration where Shopify has been creating orders, and there's no way to bring all the revenue reporting together very easily, at least that I have found. And in talking to the HubSpot team, this has been a challenge that they're trying to deal with. So when I say orders is bridging the gap, quote, to cash or sales to success, it's the bridge. The bridge part is the important word. And because we can get the cash now, we're connected to accounting systems. We've got customer success. We've been doing a lot of customer success onboarding and ticketing for a long time. And transition that hopefully. But we have these things, we just don't have the bridge. So we can bring data in, but usually we're doing some form of customization, custom objects, custom events, right? To kind of tie everything together, right? To achieve true customer portal or customer platform, sorry. And orders, that's why very specifically our delivered portal relies on orders, on a custom customer order object and deliverables, is to bridge that gap. and to let customers know what's going on after they give us money, after they place the order, after they close the deal, right? So just as a reminder, a bit of context, I'm going to kind of share my screen because the challenge right now is where do orders fit in the tried and true, the long-standing HubSpot data model that is ever evolving as we move towards customer platform, or as we already are a customer platform, honestly. So not necessarily meant to see all the details, but where we're starting here again is customer journey. This is the way I describe it. You can get lots of different views out there, but basically audience, they're learning. Researcher has figured out, they have a problem. They're looking into ways to solve it. Now they've found you, and they're letting you know that they're in the market, that they're buying a solution to the problem. And you qualify, you discover, see if there's a fit. And then if there is a fit, now we're talking about options and there's high intent, right? So we expect this person to be revenue opportunity. Hopefully they choose us, right? And this is where so many maps that I've seen, like you might see this on the surface, but when you look at the process map, it ends here, right? And then transitions into some ISO diagram or some production process map that completely forgets about the customer, except in the times where something breaks and the customer needs help. Then we've identified corrective action, reporting, and processes related to that, but none of this stuff, right? And if you've never read how, Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman, there's a great, he's got an 8-step framework to manage this, to manage the customer journey, understanding the first stage is the beginning. And that's when, right in this area where the customer is considering and the customer is buying, then there's immediate customer buyer's remorse that happens. How are you dealing with that? Right. Then they got to realize value from the business that they're doing with you. Right. So they actually have to adopt the product. It's very easy to go out and buy and pay for HubSpot, but when nobody adopts it, they don't even get to this adopter phase. And guess what? They're churning. Understanding these stages is super important, especially if you agree that this is where the additional revenue is easier to get and you have resell and upsell and cross-sell goals. If you aren't managing this like you're managing the front end, goodbye goals, you're not hitting them. You end up asking people that are in service or in some other non-sales function, now all of a sudden have a revenue number on their head. And there's no sales process. There's no sales mentality. There's no sales strategy. It's just going to roll in. The revenue is just going to get better. It's not. Right? Just like it's important on the front end, it's important during the customer, the full customer life cycle. So that's where all this ties to, right? And in our case, we have this delivered, self-service portal. So what would the customer want to see if they're logging in, and the gap that we saw is that orders and the stuff in the order. If I got a call and I got an email, I'm going to, because I am intently interested in the status of my order at all times. If you're the only place I can get that information from, I'm calling you and I'm emailing you. And it is a great place to lose my trust when I don't hear from you, or when the lead time changes and you don't tell me, when I don't hear from you and then I get the order late. right? So many businesses are getting away with this right now just because customers don't have a lot of options or there's a lot of work into change. But uh, I also know a lot of businesses that have not dealt with it and now they are suffering because more options are coming. It's getting competitive, more competitive by the day. There's turnover in the roles that you've been serving. So the trust goes away very quickly. And new people might not put up with the lack of response times or the lack of communication. So that's what drove this. And after creating this, the reason I created this is to understand, okay, where's the data going to come from? If we are going to put this on HubSpot content pages, HubSpot membership only pages, the dynamic data needs to come from CRM records usually. So what kind of CRM records do we have access to? Right. We've got up prior to last week, we had, company objects, contact, leads, product, deal, line item. So if we just take this flow, right? Customer fills out a form, creates a contact object, also creates a company object if you've got the system set up to do that. If you're doing parent-child and there's multi-locations, you should not be automatically creating company objects because it's based on the domain. And instead of trying to dedupe everything into one record, you should be utilizing the parent-child functionality. Still to be determined is how and when and exactly which use cases to take advantage of the leads objects or the signals that you're getting, both from new accounts and current accounts. So that has a place in here, but usually, and prior to last year, we're going from contact object to deal, right? As we're in the deal object, we want to quote something. So we need to get here, but in order to do that, we need line items. And hopefully, if we're quoting the same line items over and over, we're taking advantage of the product library. And we're using the product library to load line items. Maybe we're doing some custom stuff too. Now, this is where Commerce Hub has made things super interesting. You don't necessarily have to use a quote to get paid anymore. You can create invoices from deals with line items. Right? You can create payment links from deals. You can create payment links from products without a deal at all. Right? And they're making subscriptions more easily accessible. Right? For a long time. And I'll have to remember where they're at, but you could only get a subscription in place through a closed assigned quote. Like if a subscription product was on a signed quote, that would start the subscription, which works great. Like if you have subscription services and you haven't done this yet, it surprised me when it first happened last year. All the automatic debiting, all like the ability to change the subscription date, like super easy, right? So we've got these places, but so this is management of payment, right? Which is always where we start. Like I get it. We need the books to be good. We need money. Like we need to make sure that we're getting paid for the work that we're doing. But the nuance is imagine, because there's a team, whether it's accounting, accounts, receivable, order management. There is a team with a very internally focused label, like order management, that the way that their process works is that they do their job to make sure that the invoice will get paid, right? So I'm making sure you got your stuff because I need to invoice you and I need to have you pay that invoice. Like that is my goal in this role. Now, in SaaS, for example, where it's a much different motion, that team is the customer success team, and the angle is much different in that it's very easy for you to leave and not pay, right? So instead, my goal is help you be successful with the product so that you want to pay the invoice. And that's what these order management teams could be doing. It's a simple mindset shift. And imagine if I was making sure that you got your stuff and that you were trained on it and that you had success with it, because I knew if that happened, then you would pay the invoice. A much different perspective than, hey, did you get your stuff? Great. Here's the invoice. Right. Oh, I saw, UPS said they delivered. Now it's on you. You still got to pay the invoice. I don't know what your team did with it, but we did our job. Now you got to pay. Right. Like it's not a reality that we live in anymore. And if you choose to handle your customers that way, they will not be your customers forever if they have a choice. Not all of them have a choice, and that's unfortunate. But you're leaving a lot on the table if that's how you operate. And if that's how you operate and you also have resell, upsell, cross-sell goals, like get the hell out of here. You're not hitting that stuff if that's the experience, right? And that's where this back-end team is still customer facing, right? All the way to accounting that's sending the invoice. I've had many experiences where the invoice comes from somewhere and there's a positive or a negative feeling that happens just because of the way that it's presented. And when we treat HubSpot as the platform that manages customer communications, then we need all customer related data in HubSpot. It gets infinitely easier to manage those communications, to standardize them, to customize them when needed, right? So that's where this order object comes in. And since the beginning of the year, like I'd never put customer order object here because the order's got to come at some point and it's on the way. So opened up last week. Now we don't need, through the use of custom coded workflows, custom coded actions, we can use private apps to create our own orders in HubSpot that are not tied to Shopify or NetSuite or some other integration that requires the use of orders. Like, thanks to those integrations for existing and getting us here, but we're no longer forced to use them. So with that order object, you create this other activity that, okay, it's not sales, it's not tickets, right? Now there is a place for accounting and operations teams, which is why I have it down here, which I don't see which one. Yeah, this was the original, right? That's why I have them down here in Operations Hub, right? And one of the shifts that I've talked to many people about is the company object in most, probably 99% of HubSpot portals is owned by sales. As soon as you get the operations and accounting teams involved, and they're actually might be already involved, like if accounting team is the one that has to approve the company getting created because of, the business terms, the payment terms, right? Are they a viable business for us to be in business with? Are they going to pay us? We own that object. Because certainly as it passes into invoicing and stuff like that, operations and accounting own that object. Now, all the people that we're doing relationships with most of the time, still lands in sales. But even there, contact is going to straddle here between operations and sales teams. So down here we have company, product, order, and deliverable, and then ticket, as an operations function. And now that we have this space, so deliverable is just the thing that needs to be managed that was ordered, because if I'm ordering 5 things, I care about the status of all 5 things in the order, not the whole order. I could be in a contract where I'm paying milestone billing and all 5 things have possibly different milestone schedules, right? I can't do that in an order. So in the world where some people just want to do a one-to-one relationship with orders and line items, not a good plan. It might be easier and there might be lots of use cases. I mean, the beauty of having this setup is that you can't, if your business is only one-to-one, every deal or order equals 1 line item, then you can treat the order in this way. But in most cases, there's likely multiple line items, and that's not going to work for you. But what it does do is, we need a total invoice number. We might have some overall reporting needs that should be on the order object versus, the deliverable object. It just creates a space for operations and accounting to own some stuff in HubSpot that they can separate, from sales, from service, but those teams can still see it. Marketing can still see it. Most of what we're asked for right now is we've got all this post-sales data, and our sales team, they want to see it. Of course they want to see it. They want context. If you bought this thing last time at this time this year, why aren't you buying it again this year? Right? Or you bought this thing 10 years ago. Do you need new warranty? Right? This is all the stuff that this gap has not been solved for in most ERPs, especially when it comes down to $0, deliverable types, like documentation or contracts. So orders are coming, and just to kind of show that and prove that real quick, let's look up orders API in HubSpot. All right. So here it is. We can create orders. Got all the endpoints here. All right. Can we manage associations yet? Maybe not, but baby steps. So I'm super anxious to hear from the community. And I think HubSpot itself needs a lot of help in terms of where this fits in the scheme of things, right? Because there's a lot of overlap with deals. There's going to be overlap with invoices, right? There's overlap with a lot of the ways that people use tickets. And we've got to figure this out. So we know it has value, but what value is it going to bring to the HubSpot data model, right? And another way to think about this is when we look at this, sales to service map, right? And we've got, the start, visitor fills out a form, then contact gets created, a little bit of a sales process here. Then we get into deal stages, big quote process. Then we get to closed, and now we have this handoff, right? And in this case, we've got an implementation tier to think about, and there's a process for all of these different tiers, right? And the less objects we have, so there's no go-to objects like we have over here, where there's clearly a deal, a contact, company. We've been using tickets for some of this stuff, but it's work to be done, right? Most of the time it's reactive. That's how it's built. And we're reporting on things like, how quickly did we get the ticket done? How quickly did we respond to the request, instead of, is the customer satisfied? How well did it get done? Are they willing to buy because of what happened, right? So we got these things thrown in at the end that are upsell. Okay, now we create a deal, right? Renewal. Do we have a deal in the system for that? But before we get there, and that's part of what the customer success, workspace is trying to solve for, is that, do we have a clear picture of our portfolio or all of our installs that are in the field, so that we can have a clear understanding at the drop of a hat? Like, if we're always motivated by what competitors are doing, and a lot of times competitors are better at marketing than you are. And if they come out with a new thing that you can already do, but they make it sound like, because nobody's actually utilizing your equipment for that you can't do it, how quickly can you react to everybody in your user base with an email or some communication that says, yes, like, we've been doing that all along. Here's all the customers that have it, right? Here's how much it is. Like, no brainer. If you actually need that, right, we can do it for you. How quickly can you act for that? If your data is sitting in an ERP, you cannot act quickly enough. Even if you're restricted to deals and tickets, and you have these people who aren't necessarily motivated or compensated based on, upsells and cross sells, right? There's no motivation for them to reach out, right? Because sales is focused on the big ticket items. Service is just getting, like, they're graded on tickets. They're graded on getting tickets done. So they don't need to, or even think to, or have time to ask the question of, hey, did you know we have this new upgrade that I think, will be valuable for you, right? So creating this space in HubSpot to solve for this, success piece. And that's the beauty of, as HubSpot evolves, right? So since, and I just haven't prepped our portal to show this yet, since we've been doing this, right, with orders and deliverables, with this customer success, state of mind and goal, like, how are we supporting this team? Not only for their operations, but in a way that's easily shown to the customer through a portal. Now that the customer success space exists, and since we know that HubSpot is always evolving in the direction of the customers and that their customers, now it's very easy for us to take advantage of the customer success workspace in the way that it's meant to be taken advantage of, right? Sure, there's some things that will be great, even better when they come out, and they're not there yet. But since we've already got a data model in place that supports customer success activities, it provides immediate value. So again, this is what brings us back to the data map, the process, getting that done. You put yourself in a position where all of the value that HubSpot's bringing comes quicker for you to realize for your business, because your data is set up, your process is set up to support customer focused process and journeys. Got to run today. This is something I'm super passionate about. I think I'm going to be hitting this again on Friday, possibly from a customer site, talking about orders and deliverables and, asset management. Yeah, orders, super important. If you've got feedback. I would love to hear it. HubSpotters would love to hear it. A lot of people that are already using custom objects for orders. Let us know. Let us know how you're using it. And while you're letting us know, let's work together and find those opportunities, and let's grow. Have a great day, everybody.